I don't talk to strangers too often, but when I do, I often find it gives me feelings I never feel anywhere else. There's one stranger I interacted with in particular that really changed my perspective, and I still think about him very often to this day. So to set the scene of where I was in a game reserve in South Africa, and I was on an internship for like wildlife conservation. And this was on one of the first days of the internship. A group of about five of us, we went on a walk through the game reserve, and it was guided by an anti-poaching unit ranger. So this ranger was named Cato, and his job was pretty much to patrol the game reserve all day and night, track down any poachers that may come, and defend the animals from them. So Cato was this tall dude dressed in all camouflage with a huge gun strapped to his back. And despite his intimidating appearance, he was incredibly soft-spoken and very gentle. Just like super nice guy. And he was basically just giving us a lesson on what it's like to be in the anti-poaching unit, what he does, how he tracks different animals, whatever. And this was actually super interesting to me. He would always stop us and point out different tracks in the dirt and how he could identify them. And at one point, he found a poacher's track, and he could identify it because of the type of shoe, and there was like a line in the dirt from them tracking their gun. And you could just tell how much he had worked on this because he was picking up on so many tiny details in the dirt. It was crazy. I was amazed at how knowledgeable and observant he was. Like, he was seriously a master tracker. Even though he was a pretty young guy, I just felt like he had some wisdom in him because, I mean, working in such a demanding and dangerous job would do that to you. As we walked further into the bush, Cato had eventually said everything in his lesson, so it went silent for a bit because we still had more ground to cover. We still had to finish the walk. So everyone was kind of doing their own thing, you know. I was just taking in the scenery because I was still just in complete disbelief that I was there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get to travel internationally too often. Now all of a sudden, I'm walking through a savannah in South Africa watching wildebeest run around in the distance. It was crazy, right? Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. So before I went on the trip, I learned a little bit of Zulu because that's like the main language of the province we were in. So I was hella nervous, but I was like, okay, I gotta try speaking Zulu with someone. I'm gonna go talk to Cato. So I go up to him and I tell him I've been learning Zulu. I just say, hello, how are you? My name's Hen, whatever. And even though I only knew a few words, he immediately lit up. He was really impressed. He told me I sounded like a local, and then he taught me some new words that I could use. I think when I tried speaking his language, he opened up a bit to me because his posture became more relaxed and the way he talked to me sounded a lot more natural, you know? Because before, like I said, he talked very quietly, pretty monotone, like he was just kind of bored or something, but now he was smiling and seemed to have a lot more energy. Then we sparked a bit of a conversation, but this time it wasn't a scripted lesson like before, it was more just like chatter, like friends. I decided to just ask him, why did you decide to join the anti poaching unit? And he responded by saying, I want to protect the animals because they cannot protect themselves. And this led to more conversing on a personal level. I learned he had never left the country before, but he always wanted to go to France to see the beaches. When I told him I'd always wanted to visit South Africa, he seemed a little surprised. For me, I was in a new and exciting place, unlike anywhere I'd ever been before, but for him, this was all he'd ever known. I asked him about what his childhood was like growing up in rural KwaZulu-Natal, and he asked me if iPhones in the US were as expensive as they were there. By the end of the hike, I felt like Kato and I had really connected in a way that I didn't expect to going into the experience. I realized that despite living completely different lives across the world, we were able to relate to things that make us who we are as a person. We both shared a love and admiration of nature. Like, he wanted to protect the animals by defending them against poachers, while I'm also a huge animal lover and I really care about conservation, but I'm gonna go to college to hopefully become a scientist. So, our life experiences were completely unlike, but just by chance, we ended up at the same place at the same time together. If you think about it, the paths we took that led to this moment must have been so different. Like, seriously, think about all the stories that led up to our life that got us there. But we could still connect at a fundamental level, like just relating our interests and complaining about crazy iPhone prices. It was kind of hard for me to think of main broad topic that is like the main takeaway for this experience, but Cato taught me that there is so much in the world I haven't seen yet. Because around the world in all sorts of backgrounds, there are people who I can relate to, people who I would be great friends with that I just haven't met yet. You know, sometimes in the past, I've felt depressed. I felt like nothing brings me joy anymore, like there's not going to be any new sources of happiness in my life. But I learned from this experience that there's a whole world out there. There's so much I haven't seen and so much I have yet to do. But the only way I can achieve that is by putting myself out there more, saying yes to new opportunities, and talking to new people whenever I get the chance. I wouldn't have gotten this experience if I hadn't made the effort to learn just a tiny bit of Zulu and randomly start talking to a kind of scary looking dude with a massive gun. I really have just scratched the surface of my life, and if you're watching this, you're probably young too, so you also have so much more life to explore. But you have to take action, because the only person who can live your life, it's you. I really hope you all enjoyed this one. Thank you for making it to the end. I wanted to say thank you so much for all the nice comments. They seriously make my day every time I get to read them, and honestly, they're what's keeping me going right now. I've been thinking about ways I can involve you guys more in the videos, like maybe reading your stories or giving you advice or something, but I would still need a bit of a bigger audience before I could do that, so make sure to stay tuned for that. If you have any ideas for future videos, also make sure to tell me, but yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.